Hi everyone, welcome to Honey Drops Tarot. This is a special bonus reading for the sign of Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. Gemini, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your likes, shares, and subscribes. I truly appreciate it. Just a quick note, please do not fall for any scammers. I will never reach out to solicit for a private reading. I do offer private readings, and if you're interested in signing up for one of those or in making a donation, you can find that information in my Buy Me a Coffee link, my official Instagram and TikTok, all listed in the About section of my YouTube page. And I thank you so much in advance. Gemini, I hope that you're doing well. Just realized I need to burn some Palo Santo to clear out the energy. So I hope you'll join me in just speaking to your guides about removing anything that is not serving your best and highest good. We're just gonna let that wash away from us right now. So I'm going to be using two decks for your reading today, Gemini. The first one is the Chalks of King Congo, a beautiful oracle deck that was just gifted to me. And also another beautiful deck that was gifted to me, the Nefertiti's Tarot, for your tarot portion of your reading. And then at the end, I'm going to read from the book. The cards have been pre-shuffled. This is for Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, or Venus. Angels, oh, okay. Beautiful card. So this deck is so spare in its imagery, but it's almost more potent that way. And the word is balance. Interesting, because Libra got a card that reminded me of Gemini. Obviously, you are now getting a card that reminds me of Libra. Balance, of course, references the Justice card of the Major Arcana. Talking about karma, karmic balance, in the sense of kind of what we put into the world is what comes back to us. Theoretically, right? Sometimes it doesn't feel that way, especially in the moments when we're feeling most depleted, sorry for ourselves, angry. Feels like we give and give and give to the world, and what has the world given back to us, right? It's difficult. I don't know why I'm picking up on this energy, but I do feel a little bit of bitterness. Almost because, like, it's almost when I held up the card, it was this kind of flinch, like, are you telling me that I need more balance? That kind of thing. And perhaps, I mean, it is coming out as your overall energy. It's less spirit telling you you need more balance, and perhaps you recognizing, or some Geminis out there recognizing that balance is needed, that maybe work has been all-encompassing, or family has been overwhelming, or you've been traveling too much, you're not sleeping enough, or sleeping too much, or what have you. It's reminding me of a kind of major tenet of Buddhism that talks about, like, the middle path or the middle way, where we try not to do things in extreme, because that's kind of where we get in trouble. You can have a little bit of everything, a little bit of what you fancy, but when we get to the point where we're no longer in control of what we are participating in, to the point where it controls us, that's when we get in trouble. And so it's interesting too, because these as symbols, I've been watching a lot of DVDs lately. I very rarely watch television. I have no idea what shows are popular right now, because I watch tarot and I listen to music, and that's about it. But I've been watching a lot of DVDs, and these remind me of the buttons on the DVD player, forwards and backwards, and skip to the end. Can we skip to the end? Now it's like that song, can we skip to the good part? There could be this sense of impatience as well. There's a simplicity to it, though, what happens in a DVD player, I mean, I don't even know if people have DVD players anymore, but what happens when you press the button to skip, right? It skips to the next chapter. There could be, you know, maybe the world card will pop out for you today, but it could be you finishing out a cycle, closing out a chapter, and you pressing that button and saying, enough with this chapter, I'm ready to move on. So I'm going to pull 3 cards for the base spread, 3 cards for clarifier, past, present, future, and at the end, some advice from Spirit. One more. This is for Gemini. Thank you, Spirit. No major arcana in your spread as of yet. I will pull clarifiers, but all minor arcana cards. And what does that indicate? It's not a bad thing. It just indicates that it's not to say that you're disconnected from Spirit, but it is to say that you're very rooted in what is happening in the here and now, the decisions that you can affect on a daily basis, taking care of business, that kind of thing. There could be a lot of things hinging on your decision making. Little bits and bobs, a Spirit wanted me to say bits and bobs, little minutia, details of life, of situations that you have to take care of, responsibilities that if you don't take care of them, you can't think about the bigger picture. Maybe this is why it's like, can we skip to the good part, you know? Like, can we get past all of these little trivialities and get to something a little bit more profound? This is the thing. I was just watching, literally like 20 minutes ago, interview with Alain de Botton, who is like a modern cultural theorist and philosopher, and he's amazing. He wrote the book How Proust Can Change Your Life, the famous author Proust. So that might be relevant to you. But the interviewer asked him about like what makes a successful relationship, or how can you find a good partner. I imagine he gets asked about the topic of love a lot, but he said something really profound, which is not a new idea, but it was just profound in the way that he said it, which was kind of buckling up for the fact that life can be boring sometimes. Life is lovely and wonderful, but it's also hard and arduous, but sometimes it's excruciatingly boring. And we are going throughout our day-to-day, working through our responsibilities on the trivialities. There's a mastery, though, when you can sit in the midst of those boring events and be in that space of gratitude and just say, I'm just happy to have this experience and to be surrounded by this. It's temporary. The temporary boredom and the temporary thrill. In the past energy, you got the 8 of Wands in the reverse. So to me, that kind of can speak of boredom as well. 8 of Wands in the upright talks about fast action, fast communication. You know, I've been thinking about the minor arcana a lot lately. I've been reading tarot for several years now, and the minor arcana and how they're connected to the major arcana. 8s are connected to the strength card, which is Leo energy. The strength card is all about looking at our identity, our ego, our fears, mastering them to a certain extent. So the 8 being this rapid movement, this card of action, this card of perhaps initiative and adventure, eightfold. When the card is in reverse, it's that sense that things are standing still, and they could be things outside of us, or things that we require to be able to move, right? So let's say it's like you want to move to a new town, but you can't move until you get a job there, right? There's only so much of that process you can control. I mean, you can control a lot of that process. You can just move to the town without getting a job. You can make all the phone calls. You can put your resume out there, but you can't actually control who's going to call you back. You can influence it, but to a certain extent, we have to release and surrender to it. So there are a lot of things, the ways that we can enable ourselves, but in the past energy, I feel this frustration that things were moving at a snail's pace. And so then it becomes this, our own impatience becomes an obstacle. It's clarified by the Five of Wands in the reverse, which I like to see. I don't like fives because they're all about strife and conflict and transition. Stuck energy, the fives. But the Five of Wands in the upright is kind of chaos and conflict, and sometimes that can talk about, with other individuals, but I usually interpret it as within the self. We're torn, and we're battling some unseen monsters, right? You got the card in reverse. So it's almost as if, so we're starting off strong with fire energy for you, Gemini, but it's almost like showing me that there was an element of surrender, that you recognize that, it's not going to do me any good to beat myself up about it. So I might as well just relax a little. I'm impatient, but I can withstand it. What was this about, Spirit, in the past energy? What was this regarding this situation for Gemini? Another Wands card, Two of Wands in the reverse. Two of Wands can talk about directionality. Do we go left or do we go right? A fork in the road. A little bit of indecision, perhaps because either there are two options that are just amazing, or there are two options that are lackluster, or there are many options, what have you, but it's this place of being at the fork in the road. But the card in reverse for you, it's almost as if at least you finally made a decision. You chose a direction. Now, movement in that direction has not been as swift as one would hope, or one had hoped in the past, the recent past. And I see it bleeding into the present energy, because now we go from the 2 to the 3. 3 of Wands. This is a tremendous amount of wands. This is a crazy amount of wands. 4 wands cards already out of 4 cards so far. The 3 of Wands talks about waiting. Waiting for the perfect moment when there may never be a perfect moment. They're just a series of moments. This card is in the up. A little bit of a frog in my throat. Could be something that it's not to say that you can't express it, but I think it's almost like maybe you've talked about it too much to yourself or to others. Maybe you've expressed some impatience to others. The 3 of Wands is kind of, we're at the, in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. The 3 of Wands is somebody kind of standing on the banks of a shoreline. And you see ships in the distance, and it's kind of like waiting for those ships to come pick you up. So you could be in this a major holding pattern in the present moment. Being reminded of something that I often tell people that I train for my job. Because some things you can train with people and some things you just have to experience in the moment, right? I think that's with all jobs. We can school ourselves up to a certain point, but then you just have to experience it and have some stumbling blocks along the way, some learning curves. Whenever somebody that I train runs into an issue, and let's say for some reason I'm not available to answer their question right away, or the answer itself is not ready, I'll say, don't get stuck on it. Keep moving. Move on to the next thing. We'll come back to it. Don't get stuck on one thing and kind of sacrifice productivity, right? Because it's in a work situation, so we are aiming to be productive. Don't get stuck. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. We won't forget about it. We'll come back to it, but keep it moving. So Spirit is giving me that message for you right now. Like, are you stuck? Are you stuck on this one plot point of your life? And if that is so, why don't you feel as though you can move forward from it? Or do something else to occupy that time while you're waiting. And it doesn't mean that you have to take on more work or take on more responsibilities. Maybe while you're waiting for this, enjoy your life. So let's use that example of moving to a different town. While you're waiting to move to Chicago or wherever, I don't know why Chicago came up really strongly. I've never been to Chicago, but I felt that very strongly for somebody. While you're waiting for that grand opportunity in Chicago, maybe you can work on refining your resume or packing up your belongings and making space and preparing for the eventuality that your manifestation will come into play. 19418 is a number I just saw on a school bus that just went by, 19418. So that might be relevant to somebody. So there's so many things you can do to take steps towards your manifestation. If it's not about packing up your things and rewriting your resume and all this stuff, maybe it's about having dinners with good friends that live in the city that you're currently in, because you know that it might be a while until you see them next because you're going to be moving, right? Being in the emotional intention of getting to that next chapter might be of service to you. The Three of Wands is clarified by the Two of Cups in the reverse. Two of Cups in the upright talks about divine partnership and divine union. The meeting of equals in this depiction, I think it is supposed to depict divine masculine, divine feminine energies, right? It doesn't talk about gender, it just talks about energies. And when I pull this card, I more look at that card as the connection, speaking about the connection between you and your higher aspect, you and your soul. When the card is in reverse, it kind of tells me that maybe there is a disconnect between what your instincts are telling you, what your gut is telling you, and what it is that you think you should be doing, feeling, seeing, having. Something about report cards is coming up. Spirit is showing me, well, they're asking this question. Who ever said that you had to get straight A's in school? I don't know what the grading system is like in other countries, but 14519, another number, 14519. It's this, maybe because I'm seeing, that's a third school bus that I just saw. Maybe it's because I'm seeing school buses. that I'm thinking of report cards or Spirit showing it to me. But they're asking that question, whoever said that you had to get straight A's in school? Why was that so important? Why was it so important to be perfect? Who said that we had to do that? I don't know what that has to do with. Maybe this sense of like, you know, because to some extent, I saw these as like books, this stack right here. Maybe there is some sense within you that you're not in the place on your timeline that you thought you would be at this point in your life. That's such a tricky energy too, right? It's thinking like that can really undermine and dismantle us, dismantle our sense of self-confidence. Because if our whole identity is, the burden of our identity is placed on that fact, and we don't accomplish it, what good are we, right? I'm being kind of rhetorical right now. For me, I was in a PhD program that I did not finish. I finished all my coursework, but I did not finish my dissertation. One, because I was tired of being in school, and two, because I just ran out of money, right? So, but I had it in my mind that I was going to be a college professor before I turned 30. I was going to have my PhD by 26, which I was on track to do. But it was like, I was just going to school, constantly going to school, and it was like that was the only thing that I thought that was what I was going to do with my life. It's so interesting where life leads us, right? I did study art education and visual culture, so reading imagery has absolutely served me well and was always in Spirit's plan. But this is what I'm saying, right? If I had stuck to that, what one person might see as a failure, and I just saw as a chapter in my life, right? If I had been trapped in that with my identity, then I would have not tried anything else new. I would have just been resigned to the fact that I was a failure, right? How horrible. So Spirit is bringing all of that to the surface. Maybe you're in school right now. Maybe you're thinking about school or something to do with like evaluation, report cards. Maybe you got a performance review and that's why you want to move out of town because you didn't get a good performance review and you're like, enough is enough. I'm not sure. But Spirit is saying with this card, really ask yourself, like, one, take the judgment of yourself off of you and that harshness off of you, and then just ask yourself, what is it that really fulfills me? Do you know the answer to that? What fulfills you profoundly? I think that's an important question. Let's get a clarifier. 3 of Wands, 2 of Cups in reverse. Thank you, Spirit. 2 of Pentacles. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what fulfills me profoundly. I just know that spinning a lot of plates and juggling a lot of balls in the air and trying to make everything work. As Spirit just said, you can't be all things to all people. You can't please everyone. That's what Spirit just said. You see this person down here? He's like playing this instrument. Anytime you see instruments in tarot, you can think of them as vibration. frequency, energy. It's almost like this vibration of being split into many different directions that perhaps you've been putting out into the world, and perhaps that is the Gemini way, right? Maybe that's where the balance comes in. And I see this trying to do it all. And it's not to say that you're not accomplishing what you need to accomplish, but maybe you haven't allowed yourself the time to ask the question, what is it that truly fulfills me? I feel as though maybe you might have the time right now, since you are in a period of waiting. There's a lot on your plate. But I feel as though there is a disconnection from what it is that truly fuels you as a human, which is not uncommon. We are all there at certain points in our life. Just remember, when I pull cards, it's just taking a temperature on what's happening. Pull cards for you tomorrow, and they're all different cards. It's just the message you need to hear right now. Because you turn off this reading, you can make a radical decision in your life, or even a small decision that changes the course of your destiny. That's how much power you actually have. Sometimes we forget that, because there are also repercussions and ramifications. In the future potential, the Queen of Pentacles, you got it in reverse. Queen of Pentacles is earth energy. Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Queen of Pentacles is usually really abundant, very sure of herself, beautiful, generous, very loving and giving, patient. When the card is in reverse, though, perhaps that spirit of generosity is not as present as it might normally be. I almost feel as though in the future potential, it's like you're kind of realizing that you've spread yourself too thin. And so now you're kind of having to retreat a little bit, keep a little bit of your pentacles, your resources to yourself. Nothing wrong with that. It's clarified by the Seven of Swords in reverse. Interesting pairing. Seven of Swords energy is air, your element, Gemini. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini here. Seven of Swords can talk about this desire on our part to alleviate the stress of a situation without making a lot of fanfare or fuss. It can also be known as the card of thievery and trickery. It's the sense that we steal away in the night, in the shadows. I see it, though, for you, because it's in reverse, that when you do eventually kind of retreat unto yourself, you're not going to be secretive about it, because the card is in reverse. You're not going to be secretive about it. You're not going to be, you're going to make it clear to people. You're going to communicate. That's what you do, right, Gemini? You're the clear communicators. At least, I hope that you are. You're going to express your needs. And it first starts with expressing your needs to yourself. Communicating it to yourself, saying it out loud to the universe. What is Spirit's advice? In this deck, it's number 8, the Justice. Interesting. Because usually in the Rider-Waite-Smith, the Justice card is number 11 and the Strength card is number 8. And I was talking about that today with you. One, I said this reminds me of the Justice card, Libra energy, and it showed up. But two, I specifically talked about the eights connecting to strength. But in this deck, they connect to justice, right? What does that mean? It simply means that, oh, surprises abound. That what you thought about one thing could actually be another, could be both. Classic Gemini happening right now. This and that are true. The Justice card, like I said earlier, representing karmic balance, karmic justice, reciprocity, could be legal affairs, court cases moving in your favor. So Spirit is saying, take this to heart. Things will work out for you. Things are coming into balance, but there were some lessons that needed to be experienced. So that's beautiful synchronicity. Thank you, Spirit. I'm going to read from the book, Balance. With everything we do in life, we strive for balance. Maintaining balance is universal law. We must be mindful of leaning into the extremes of either side of the spectrum. Too much water has no structure, and too much fire is destructive. Too much air provides no footing, and too much ground causes stagnation. The objective is to harness and yield opposing energies harmoniously as they work as one accord. For light to exist, there must be darkness. For darkness to exist, there must be light. It is the equal existence of both that creates balance. Female energies and masculine energies are different, yet equally essential. One should not be regarded as more important or more powerful than the other. Thinking without action and action without thinking is non-progressive. Put both in motion and watch things begin to stabilize and advance. Be mindful of engaging in excessiveness. Too much of anything can be toxic. So that's your reading, Gemini. I hope that it resonated. If it did, please like, share, subscribe, comment down below. It really helps my channel to grow. And I thank you in advance. Please hit the bell notification to be updated as to when I post new readings.